All right, welcome. 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 Okay, we're getting some stuff out of here. Okay, so you folks at home, hey, dude.
Are you doing an attendance, remember, on the Saturday?
I forgot to enter it last week. I did take it, but I forgot to enter it. I'll take it today.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. As you can see from the Nixter, I've got to take attendance. So, if you folks are at home and you need to be accounted for, please account yourselves and account yourselves on the chat line, please. And I'm going to take attendance here. Okay. Okay, we've got Emmanuel. And we have Alex. Who was that sitting over there? Oh, Nathan. Okay, gotcha.
I was like, somebody just came in, but I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. All right, cool. Ashley. Got Kelsey. All right, very good. And we got Tyler. And who else is here? Okay, great. So we've got Pedro, we've got Desiree.
Here's what I found.
Oh. Guess what you found? Pedro. Desiree. Chrissy. Eric.
Franco said he was watching online too. I told him
Who?
to type Franco.
Well, Franco has got a...
I told him to type him.
Yeah, type him in, because unless he types in, I have to go by hearsay and... Oh, no, good.
Yeah, David is also online uploading.
Tell him to, you know, if you're talking to David, David, this is talking to you.
No, I just told him that put the name on YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, because Nick is taking names and kicking butt. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you folks are all here today. Wait, we've got 0 people? Oh, Sarah. Okay, good. David contacted me. Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, very good. All right, cool. Well, if you miss out, then you miss out. All right. If anyone else contacts me, contact me, send word to me or Nick to know that you're here today. But, okay, so much for Sparky Retard. Okay, so much for that. Okay, what we are getting into some groovy Houdini stuff. Oh, do I gotta share my screen? No, I don't. We've already got the introduction out. But welcome. Today, we're going to continue our Houdini basics. Now, since you guys are all kind of like of the game oriented, but we've got some modelers in here. We've got some folks who want to model. We've got some folks who want to go into proceduralism. I'm going to gear the thing not just towards modeling, but I'm going to introduce a new concept today. You're going to find it's really cool, and that is about point instancing. And point instancing is where you model something in Houdini, and then you replace it with a point. Just a point, a dot. And then you take that dot, and you put it into Houdini engine, or you take it just regular into UE4. And what UE4 is going to do is it's going to transform that dot into something else, which is really cool, is because then you can start working with asset packs. And then you can use Houdini to pre-populate entire worlds and interactively create a whole bunch of gobbledygook and stuff. And you can use assets that already exist within UE4 that includes not just the geometry, but the materials as well. And I don't know about you, but creating the models is one thing, but getting the materials to behave as well, that also takes a lot of extra effort as well. But when you can combine all three of those at once, then you've really got something that is powerful. So I'm going to go ahead. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today. It's really, really cool stuff. But if you hit any stopping points, please go ahead and stop me, because we're going to be building onto this time after time after time. Okie dokie? All right, very cool. Let me go ahead and turn this on. And, hello. Oh, there we go. All right, great. Okay, so before we get things munching along here, if you would please go ahead and go back to the project that we started for, and you can go there by, say, set recent projects off on the file menu, and then choose your Houdini secrets or whatever your project you call it. And if you need to create a brand new project, go ahead and select new project, and then you can put in the project name, and you can set the project path. You can set the project path wherever you want. But today's lesson is really important that you work from a project, because we're going to be dealing with digital assets and moving assets back and forth with UE4. And when you're working with projects, it makes it flow a lot more clean. Okay? Any questions about forming a project here? You all good? Okay, cool. I'm going to set my thing here. Set the project. Okay, and I'm going to make this go away because we are live. And where is my cue card? It's right there. All right. Now, this is a variation of the tutorial by Bob McGee. And I did not create this original version of this tutorial. I got it from someone over at Side Effects, but I've taken artistic liberties in order to kind of change the content in order to reflect more of what the FIANs are dealing with. And if there's anyone else out there, thank you very much for your patience, who it doesn't belong to FIA. We'll do our best to accommodate and do our best to make sure that everyone gets as much of an introduction to Houdini as possible. So let's just throw down a brand new object here, and let's do things the way that I like to do things, and that is just to throw down a geometry option. So hit Tab, and then throw down some geometry. All right, and why don't you call this geometry, call this, oh, what's it called? Oh, I'm having a brain fart. Lovely. Okay, just call this, oh yeah, point instancing. Why not? Point instancing. Because I know this is not what Robert McGee called it, but I'm going to call it this because this is what makes sense to me. So double click on your point instancing node to go into that. Okay, everyone still with me? What we've done is we've gone out of the object mode and we are now into SOP mode, or into the modeling mode. And this allows us to operate on the SOP level where we can manipulate inside of object space itself. We're no longer in world space, we're in object space. So go ahead and throw down a grid. So if you hit Tab and type in the word grid, toss down a grid here. And if you hit put your cursor in the viewport, hit Shift H, you can see the whole thing. Now for this, set the size to 0.1, no. Oh, okay. We'll just leave the grid as it is right now. Now, if you would please, throw down a box. Hit Tab, type box, and we'll see a box. make the box size 0.1, 0.1. Okay, change the uniform scale here. Change it to 0.1. Yeah. And I'm going to put the display on there. And he's a little bitty guy, but he's right there. So I zoomed in on the box. Okay, is everyone with me so far? Anyone need?
So give me just 2 seconds to get back up.
Yeah, no worries.
I hit tab and it was like, hey, fail error. So.
Oh, God.
That's fun. Oh, it might be frozen again. This is fine. Yep.
Did it back up?
No, it just shut down again.
Well, how? Why?
That is a fabulous question.
Sometimes the Mehemic service.
Yeah, we got rid of that.
No, even though if it's disabled, it sometimes starts running again.
Oh.
It has happened with me twice.
Really? God, we would just nuke that bugger.
Oh, here it goes. Yeah, bye-bye.
Is the Behemoth thing still on?
Where was that again?
Okay, so let's go ahead and fix that. Okay. Ooh, God, that's terrible. Okay, so go to, where is it?
Also,
Devices?
hit Windows E plus R. No, just yeah, Windows E plus R. Write services. .msc.
MSC?
Hit enter.
I'm so glad you guys have
Yeah,
projects.
click on that and press N. Click on any service. No,
Yeah, just click anyone.
Oh, yeah, and press N. This one.
Oh, yeah. We're
Just disable that.
So go to, yeah, go ahead, stop. And then right click it again. Go to properties. And disable.
Don't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
That's just rude.
That is rude.
You'll have to restart that.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Okay, yeah, we'll wait for you to go ahead. All right, so like I said before, the big principle that we're trying to get to, Alex, tell me when you get back up, okay?
Okay.
The big principle that we're going to do today, we're going to use points to instance everything. So if I put the display on the grid and I display the whole thing, how many points am I looking at? 100? I don't know. I can easily find out, but we've got 100. And I think that's a pretty good guess. Does anyone else want to take a guess?
It's a 10 by 10, so that makes sense.
So I bet there's 121. And there's an easy way to find out. If we go to the information on this grid, click on I, there's 100 points, just like the 10 said. So there's 100 points. There are 81 primitives, 324 vertices, and 81 polygons. Now the reason why there's so many more vertices is because the points that are shared between multiple primitives each have their own vertex. So in other words, I'm going to go ahead and display, is this display vertex markers? I'm going to click that. And now this doesn't, I didn't display this to make it look pretty. But what we see are all of the vertices in the scene here. And so that means if there's any point that is shared within mutual primitives, it gets its own vertex. So this point here has 4 vertices. These points along the edge only have 2 vertices, and the vertice, or the points at the corners, only have 1 vertex. That's very important, especially when you start going into shader programming and understanding what's the difference between a point and a vertex and so forth, and that many vertices actually point to the same point in space, that is. So that's a big difference between that and points. Oops. Any luck yet, Alex?
Yeah, so far so good.
So far, so good. Okay, we'll wait till you get going.
I'm just popping the grid and the cube in And the box is 0.1.
Yeah, the box is scaled to 0.1. We've got just a default grid. Okay, cool. Well, before we do anything, go to File, Save As. And I'm going to lay this out as, just particle, point instance. Okay, so what we're going to do is there's 100 points on there. And so wherever there's a point, we want to copy this box onto the point here. So drag off where it says box and go copy to points. And then drag the second input of copy to points to grid, and then put the display on copy to points. And then we see that every single point of where there was a point, there is now a box instead. So the boxes have been replicated and duplicated to each and every point. Now, these aren't instances, these are actually duplicates. Oh, I forgot there's one other thing. Who here is working with 18.5? Okay, 2 people are. Okay, so other people, if you click on copy to points, do you see the 0 to 99? Source group, not target points, is that right? Target points, yeah, that's right. If you guys see 0 to 99, okay, get rid of that. Because what that is that you're only displaying, okay, this is why it says that, why it shows that. Okay, we're about to change the shape of the grid. So go back to the grid, and where it says size, change it to 6 by 6. And it still has the same number of points, but the number of rows and columns, change it to 12. Okay, good. It's behaving like I expected to. And the reason for that is if we display on the grid, we see that there are 124 points on here, 144 points, my bad, my math. But when we copy to points, it only does a subset of them.
Mine's doing all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, yours is doing all of them?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you go to copy to points and click on I, you should see, what should it be? How many primitives? There should be 1,152, 864 primitives.
Yep.
Okay, you guys all have that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I'm smoking crack then. All right, well, let's move on. If you wanted to limit the target points, you could identify the exact target points that you wanted to have it copied to. So in this situation, what I did was I typed in 0 to 99. So it's, okay, only copy the points to the point numbers 0 to 99. But we want the whole group, so we're just going to get rid of this restriction.
I have a question. So like you said, points, so technically they define points as coordinates, and then vertices are overlapping?
Basically, but you're exactly right. A point really just contains the coordinates. A vertex stores all of the juicy stuff, like a normal, a UV coordinate, a color, because it's certainly possible that for every one of these squares in the grid to have its own color.
Yeah.
But they're sharing the same vertex. So they can't store that color information in the point position. They have to store it in each of the vertices positions.
So like technically at one point there are 4 vertices overlapping?
Yes.
So
they are the same, actually they're the same point, but 4 vertices that point, well, that have a pointer to that unique point.
okay, so like I just drawing a parallel with Maya. So like if it has like overlapping vertices, that's a problem basically.
Yeah, these aren't overlapping. Here, I'll show you. And believe it or not, it's the same way in Maya. Okay, click over to where it says Geometry Spreadsheet on this spread bar here. And if you don't have that, click the plus button, move that over to Inspectors, and it go Geometry Spreadsheet. And then put the display, or just actually, just hit the grid to get the grid to display. What we're looking at are all the points. And you'll notice that all we have is the position in 3D space for all of these. Okay, now we go to the next little icon right next to that. That is the vertex. Now, all that it is the vertex. It's a pointer to the point that it actually is adjusting. So the vertex here, this one points to point 0. This goes to point 1. But notice here, it's 0:0. What that stands for is primitive colon vertex number, or primitive colon vertex number. And so the first vertex of primitive 0 is 0, 1, 2, 3, and that's all you go to. Now, if we go and go across all the rows, then they're going to start to receive some repeating numbers. And you'll notice here that 0, 2 has point number 13, and so does 1, 3. So those are pointing to the same point. The point is unique, but the vertices are different. And believe it or not, in Maya, it's the exact same way. But they hide it from you guys.
But then when we create like a new vertex per se, so that even if it has, like if we create two vertices and they both have all the same coordinates, but they'll be pointing to different positions because we have created them. Yeah, well,
it's in Houdini, technically you can have an unlimited number of vertices sitting on top of each other. Like, the folks at home, you can't, well, I'll see if I can draw this out here. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to see if I can point the camera over to here. All right. Suppose we have a big old circle. We got the center point of the circle right here. And then we broke this thing up into a million pizza pies. But there's one point in the center. How many vertices are here, however?
The number of lines that there are.
Yeah, or in other words, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means there's 8 vertices right there on top of that. In Maya, it's the exact same way, but they hide it from you. They hide it.
Yeah, but like
because they don't want you to create 8 points. Because 8 points would create a problem. But there's only 1 point.
But like when we create, let's say I segregate, I cut the mesh and I move those 2 points apart, and now I manually put the coordinate values to be same for both of them. So now they are overlapping again. But technically behind the scenes now there are 2 points rather than 1?
Yeah, huh? Okay. Because when you cut them and separated them, you added new points. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
But it hid that information from you. It didn't tell you that it was creating additional points.
So multiple points is a problem on the same coordinates, but like
yes. Yeah, that's when you're going to start to get the Z fighting,
yeah.
And that's when you're going to want to clean things up and so forth, and that's where the problems are going to come in. But these are actually excellent questions. Thank you for asking. Ooh, no, I don't want that. Psychedelia. Okay, yeah, excellent, excellent question. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn that back to the scene view, and we're going to mix things up a little bit. So we're going to put a scatter node underneath the grid. So you drag that off and type in the word scatter, and we're going to throw a little bit of noise and chaos into the scene. So if we put scatter in between the grid and the copy of points, suddenly you get dispersed for a whole bunch of points. Okay, now there are 1,000
blocks here. And that's a little bit much to deal with. So we're going to say for the force total count, we can hit the slider, move that down to 250, or we can just type 250 in here. It's up to you. Now we can control how much it disperses by relaxing the amount of tension there are in between the points. And those are we can control that by the relaxation. So if we put relaxation and move that down to a bunch, you see that they start to relax and they're not really drawn to each other anymore. And then if we reduce the relaxed radius, yeah, then they start to even clump up even more. But that's okay, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a more organic kind of natural distribution. Oh, look at that. It even says organic in here in the how about that? All right. All right. So we've got that dispersed here. So we've got a more organic feel coming out of here. But let's make the boxes behave so that the boxes, the base of the box is always on the origin. And so that if we were to scale the box, it always scales from the base upward. And we're going to do that by putting an expression here in the box. Now this is one of the oldest expressions that tech artists have. Now this will even work in Maya, but you got to know how to do it in Maya. But if you're familiar with the expression language or with a node graph in Maya, you can get, this will behave just the same. But what you do here is where it says center for the box, if you type in CH and then in parentheses, put some quotes and say size Y, close quotes, close parentheses, and enter. Oh, and it bounced right up there because I did it too much. You have to multiply that by 0.5, so 0.5 times. Okay, so now if you look at this, oh, then these are still up there. Size Y, 0.5 size Y. It should be. Okay, so now if we scale this, okay, I'm doing, what am I doing wrong with this? Okay, I know what I'm doing wrong. So this 0.1, oops. You say this to 0.1. All right, let's go on into here. No, that's not what I wanted to do. So go ahead and right click on here where it goes to center and then say delete channel. And then put that center point back to 0. So yeah, they're still intersecting the origin here.
So I should be 0.05 into size Y?
But what we're, no, okay, my math is a little bit goofed up. Is because what I want to do is, because we've got the uniform scale at 0.1.
Yes.
All right, what I should have done here is, this is doing the overall uniform scale, and the transformation order got screwed up. And this is my fault. What I should have done here is, but if you did it this way, I'm showing an alternative way. Throw off a transform node right off of here. And now, for where it says translate, put in 0.5 times, then CH in parentheses, and open quotes. Now, instead of just typing size Y, type ... / box 1 / size Y. No, okay, it's still not working, and it's because of this darn scale here. I thought I was too clever And so I ended up outsmarting myself. So go ahead, delete that channel. Click that. Let's go back up to box. Change the uniform scale. Delete that to leave that to 1. Okay, for the size, just put 0.1 across the board for the size. Yeah, so now when you see, because we don't have a way to offset the middle here, when we grow it from the middle, it just grows from the center. Now, so on the center here, then put CH, open parentheses, open quotes, size Y. Close parentheses, and then close quotes, then close parentheses. Yeah, so I outsmarted myself.
Are we still multiplying by 0.5?
Oh, you are so right. Thank you. You got to multiply by 0.5. Yeah, so now when we hit the size Y, and it'll grow up from the bottom up. And I'm just going to leave it over at 0.8 or something like that. Whatever is good. But you see, this is a very useful trick, and like I said, this will work in any package. So what we're doing is we're taking the overall size of our box, and then we're moving the center point or the pivot point on that to be halfway, from the middle of where it should be to the ground, and so that the pivot point, it always grows up from the pivot point. So every single software package in the world works this way. You'll understand why in the spring semester when we start dealing with transformations. You'll understand why. Well, Tyler, you won't unless you attend tech art class, but you have to take our word for it.
Okay.
All right.
I trust you.
Okay, cool, thank you. All right, if you want to, go ahead and delete that transform node. We don't need it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put an attribute random between the grid and the scatter nodes. So click on here and say attribute random. So tab attribute randomize. And then sneak that in there between this grid and the header. And so what it does is it randomizes the colors of every individual instance. Okay, what controls what aspect of the cube is it? We are embedding color information inside of the points. And then when we copy the cube to the point, the cube then inherits whatever parameters the point has. So right now, you can see that the parameter that we're inheriting is CD. That means for color diffuse. Now we don't want that. What we want is the normal. And the normal, if you remember, is a vector that points where the point is actually oriented, where it's going. And we want it to point straight up. So click on, what we want to do is change its orientation. So click on here to just capital N. And so now this causes the box to kind of swirl around. Now that's exactly what we want, because what it's doing here is, since it's a normal, you would think that you want it to point straight up. Now what we want to try to do is get it to rotate around here, but we still always want it to point up. So really what it's doing is putting some kind of random value and kind of like going off here, or going off here, or going off there, who knows where. And that's where the cube's going towards. So what we're going to do is, where it says the minimum value and the maximum value, on the second value, put that, the max value to, leave that at 1, put the min value to 1, or does it have to be 0? Which is it? Yeah, put them back to 0. And so what you see now is that we have randomness in the x component of the normal and the z component of the normal, but the y component of the normal has no randomness in it. So the y component is always pointing straight up. And so therefore, all of our boxes here are pointing straight up. Call this node random rotate. Okay, now we're going to make a duplicate of that. We're going to make another random attribute. So click Alt, drag on the random rotate, and then drag it off there. And it should create a duplicate. Okay, freak out like a mad dog, shake it loose, and then stick it between the random rotate and the scatter. Call this one random scale. And so what we want to do is not only do we want each of these pegs here to have a random orientation, but we want them to have a random scale. And we're going to do that by not modulating the normal, but there is a parameter on here called p-scale. P-scale. And that stands for point scale. And you'll see that you got a wide variety of points going from itty-bitty 0 to nothing all the way to 1. Go ahead and change the minimum value to like 0.5, and then change the max value to 2. So we've got a good distribution of random scales that go anywhere between half the size to twice the size. Okay, anyone having troubles here? Got it? Okay, go ahead and hit Control S and save. Yes, gotta keep on saving.
Oh, can you go to the normal numbers?
The randomize rotate?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. All I did was change this to N and put this max value to 0.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now select the grid node, and where it says rows and columns, from 12, change that to 30. 30 rows and 30 columns. And you see what that does is it gives us a lot more points to choose from in order to randomize. Instead of 144 points, we're now dealing with 900 different points that it could be in. Okay, so that's going to increase the scene dramatically. But this actually doesn't say this doesn't cause the output to change scale, because this is still just this is still 250 blocks no matter what. Okay, so we went ahead. Go ahead and hit Control S to save again. Okay. We good? All right, now what we're going to do is turn this into a digital asset. So the hardcore, I mean, if it works for you, and go for it, select the whole dealio. And I still can't get this to work. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. But if you go to Assets, New Digital Asset from Selection, change that to operator name. We'll call it just Populate. Populate. And then come over here where it says Save the Library, where it says Populate HDA&C. Get rid of all that and type $JOB/HDA. And click Accept. Did it work? Oh, it worked for me.
It says node to convert deleted.
I'm sorry?
Node to convert deleted.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so in that case, if you got that situation to happen, I was expecting that to happen, honestly. All right, so let me see if I can undo this. Oh, there we go. What you got to do is you got to select all of these. Come over here to this little box where it says create subnet from selected. Change the name to populate. Now, right-click on this node and choose Create Digital Asset. And you'll see they have the same menu here that we went through before. Do the same thing. Change all of this to $JOB/HDA. Click Accept, and that should work.
Yeah.
It worked?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know why it works some of the times and other times it doesn't. It's so confusing. But anyway, we're not going to make any modifications right now. Just click Accept. Okay. Anyone have any problems getting to this point? Now go ahead and click Control S or just hit the save to make sure it saves. Now, here's a confusing part that I have to remind everyone on. Because when you have a digital asset here, the definition of the contents of the digital asset are stored on disk. They're no longer associated with the scene file itself. Especially when we click here right and say match current definition. Notice that the little padlock on here shifts on there. So that means is that the disk or your memory now stores the definition of your digital asset. Your scene no longer holds it, it just holds the parameters going into the digital asset. It's now a game entity. So that's fine, but if you would please, open up a UE4 project, maybe the one that we used a couple weeks ago, and go to that project. If you need to create a new project, create a third-person project with the starter content. Guitar, you got UE4? Oh.
It's taking its sweet time. But
Ah. Okay. Now, when you get to the UE4 scene, go ahead and, if you want, go to where it says third-person BP, go to Maps, and then create a duplicate of your third-person example map and call it something like Populate Test, or I'm calling mine HSL 110620. Ooh, that's not what I want. Hello. That's what I want. All right, so I'm going to create a duplicate of that, and I'm going to call this HSL Populate. And then double click to go into that. Save selected. Yes, save selected. Yeah, there we go. So we should have kind of a clean level with not a lot of stuff in there. Emmanuel, do you have a UE4 Sino?
Yes.
All right, cool. How about you, Alex?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, go over here to content. Go to your, if you don't have create a happy folder. and then drop into the happy folder. And if you would, right click and say import to game happy, and then navigate to your thing, or even better, just drag and drop the digital asset that we created earlier. Now I stored mine in TechArt EDU, Houdini Secrets, beginning buildings. Now I stored mine in the HDA, and so today is the 6th, so this is populate HDANC, and I'm going to click open. Now my location is going to be different than yours. Is anyone having any problems finding their digital asset? You find out where it is, Tyler? Sweet.
I got it in UE4.
Oh, you got it in UE4 already. You okay, Ashley?
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, well, we'll slow down for you.
Okay, I got it.
All right, sweet. You got it, Emmanuel?
Yes.
All right, and once it's in, go ahead and drag that populate digital asset and drop it in the level. And if all things go well, it should populate.
Sorry, where's the asset be again?
Anywhere? Oh, where should the asset be? Let me see if I can go and find it.
In this project.
Well, if you're in the project, no, it's not there. So,
Okay.
pull up Houdini if you would, please. Okay, populate. Let's see, this will tell me right where it is.
Oh,
Users-
so somewhere they didn't want it to. That
You
makes
didn't
sense.
want it to. So what we're going to do is, actually, we're just going to leave it there
Okay.
for the time being, because that's fine right now. But it's in dollar job. You put hash job rather than dollar
yeah,
job.
sure, that would do it.
Yeah, so that's just what happened. So go ahead and do UE4, and then right click onto this, and go to your documents. And there should be, is there a dollar job? This might be hidden. Okay, so let's not do that. I'm going to cancel out of this. So that's confusing. So I'm going to change the location to here. Okay, dollar job HDA.
That'll work. Yeah.
Accept, and they'll go back, and I'll see if it'll load in there, right? Yeah, there it is, HDA,
Getting keywords.
populate.
Sweet.
All right,
Good thing.
yeah, do your thing. Well, it's always reassuring when it's holding up like this,
Yeah.
when it stops throbbing with the little light there. Okay. Anyone else having any problems bringing up the digital asset? You got it, Emmanuel?
Yep.
Sweet. You need to?
Yes.
Sweet. Kelsey?
Yep.
Excellent. All right, cool. Now we have a little bit of it looks groovy, right? Now we hit play. We can run around the room here, and we're not colliding in anything, which is like something to worry about for the future. But everything's looking fine, but looks are not necessarily as they seem to be. Because one of the first things you do when you're creating a new level, you say, okay, let's build the lighting on this thing. Let's go ahead and click on build, and since there's nothing here, it should build really quickly. Okay. What happened?
There's no normals on it, right?
Right. Excellent. There are no normals on it. So let's go back to Houdini. and then drop inside your populate HDA. Oh, it's locked off. And how do we make it locked off? Okay, when you, whenever you say that match definition, you lock off your digital asset, and this prevents any nosy artists from going in and monkeying with your work. But to make it open, all you have to do is right-click it and say allow editing of contents. So drop back into populate. Now where it says box, we want to do is add some normals to the box. So click on tab, say normal, and just drop that in there. If we look at the parameters for the normal SOP, we see that it's adding normals to the vertices. And cusp angle means is how much angle do you need to do in order to consider all your neighbors and so forth. So let's go ahead where it says assets, go to save asset, and then populate. So let's go back into UE4, and where it's in the scene where it says populate, come over here to Houdini assets, baking, cooking actions, and then click on the rebuild asset. Okay, so that seemed to have fixed the problem. But I'm a skeptic. Click build again.
It doesn't give me any cooking option. Oh, great.
It went dark again.
I hit play by accident. Like, why isn't it building? That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I get for looking away drinking water.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It doesn't give me a cooking option.
Sure it does. Let's see. Okay. Oh God, look at you. Oh my gosh. Okay. You did nothing wrong.
Something you always want to hear your professor say. Oh,
you
God.
did nothing wrong. You're just playing with version 2 of Houdini Engine. And I have not had a chance to play with this yet.
Okay.
So, try to go to rebuild. There it goes. Here we go.
Oh, this was like cooking.
Yeah. So it recooked it.
Oh.
All right. So, what you know about the difference between points and vertices? What other kind of convenient information might UE4 be looking for that Houdini yet has not provided, so that it will get nice, crisp, bright-looking boxes? A material that's close. But the thing is, a Houdini material makes no sense to UE4. So if we created a Houdini material and took it over to UE4, UE4 would go, what in goody goo goo is a Houdini material? Throw it out the door.
Oh, probably no color information.
I'm sorry, node coloring?
No color information.
That could be something. But what we're looking for here is UV information. It's just kind of assuming that you're not going to be using point coloring. So this is a UE4 assumption, not a Houdini assumption. UE4 just says, okay, in order to be optimized, I'm just going to assume that whatever you stick into me is going to have a texture map put onto it. So what we're going to do here is go back to Houdini, and after it says normal, click tab, and then just type UV, and let's look at the options, and just click UV texture. And honestly, anything will work, so just drag that in there. And so now, if we know that we have information here, so if we click on I, then we see that the point has position information, and the vertex now has normal information, and UV information. Another place to check that is go over to the geometry spreadsheet. Now if we click on points, we say, okay, we just have the points here of there. But if we click on the vertices, then we see that the vertices have point number information. Now they have normal information, and now they also have UV information.
Also in the newer version, did they change this? Because I can see my meshes are complete white, like they have a material.
I don't know, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but ultimately, just think about this. If you're taking anything from, if you're generating geometry in Houdini,
Yeah.
make sure that it always has normals and it always has UVs. That's one of the things that took me hours to figure out.
Okay.
Pulling my hair. Okay, so now if we go ahead and go to Assets, Save Assets, Populate, come over here, UE4, click on the Rebuild asset, it goes to white. Now if we were to rebuild the lighting, everything's going to look copacetic. Look, watch it make me a liar here.
Okay.
There it goes. So that just goes to show you what to look out for if you're playing around with Houdini and UE4. If you're generating any source geometry and it goes into UE4 and it's coming out dark when you build the lighting, that's what you're missing. Okay, so let's go ahead and add some attributes to the axis so we can control it a little bit more inside of the scene, because right now we kind of get whatever Houdini engine gave us, and that's kind of it.
My UV is not working.
Oh, okay.
It's still dark, and now it's like a mess of dark and light.
Oh
I don't know
yeah.
how that happened.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's see what you got here. So I'm just going to click this guy, geometry spreadsheet. So we've got normals and we got UVs. Click here. Okay. Everything looks great. Asset. Save. Populate. Guess it just must now save, you know?
I still think object has overlapping UVs.
Okay, now click, oh yeah, okay. So let's,
Maybe because it's overlapping hues.
oh, you are right. Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Okay, you're right. Okay, we'll just leave that as is, and we'll fix that.
Okay.
Eventually, but I think you're absolutely right, so thank you.
Yeah.
So go back to Houdini, and now what we want to do is bring up the type properties for our digital asset. We can grab these by going to Assets, and then look over to where it says Edit Asset Properties, where is it? Asset Manager, install,
So it's the fourth one on the list.
install,
Up one.
Edit Asset Properties?
Isn't that what you just said?
Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
I was like, wait, now I'm confused.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, well, I'm glad you guys are on my side. Thank you very much. Click over onto the Parameters tab, and we're going to look at the parameters that we have available to us. So what we want to do is control how many copies we see on here, and we might want to control the relaxation information. So where it says scatter, go ahead and then just left mouse click and it says force total count, the word, just drag that out onto root, and just drop it right on there. And then change that to say num instances. Okay, anyone have any problems creating that parameter? You okay, Emmanuel?
Yep.
Sweet. Now let's go to where it says scatter. Now do the same thing for relax iterations and max relax radius. Just drag the and drop O's there. And just leave those on there. We're not going to change the name. Now just go ahead and click accept. And that automatically saved for us. So let's go back into UE4 and then click on rebuild asset. And I'm interested to see what Nintendo's thing looks like, because I haven't had a chance to play with Houdini Engine version 2 yet. Okay, so grab it and scatter. Okay, so move force total count onto there. Change that to no instances. Yeah, so play around with the number of instances and the scatter around to see if that helps me. Now come over here to where it says relax iterations. Drag that on and move max relax. Okay, click on accept. And now just, yeah, hit the rebuild. Okay, now let's, oh, there they are. Cool. Anyone have any problems bringing up those parameters? And already you guys are trying to max out the engine, aren't you? How many assets can we bring on there, huh? That's like, you take someone and you put them in VR. What do they, first thing they do? They find an object and throw it. You take someone into a UE4 from Houdini the first time, what do? They crank on the number of instances to see how many times they can get it in. All right. Everyone got that working? Does yours work too, Nathan?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to set up the instancing. Now, if you, I don't know if Nitin can find this, but for the rest of you, you should see a little slider here that says Houdini generated meshes. If you open that, there's this thing that says populate underscore and then a whole bunch of numbers. If you click that open, you'll see that where it says there's a little image where it says next to bake, that means it's loading in 250 boxes. Now that's kind of slow and kind of ineffective. Why should it generate why should it import 250 boxes? It should just bring in one box, and then Houdini Engine should go ahead then and change all the scale, change all the rotations and stuff, and do all the stuff for it. So let's go and teach it how to do that. Go back to Houdini and go to copy to points. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they go and they create a brand new SOP for this, because this is such an important step that it's amazing that it's in such a small place. But click on that, there is a parameter here that says pack and instance. Go ahead and make sure that that is true. Go ahead and save the digital asset. Go back into UE4. Hit rebuild. And now there is an additional thing that says Houdini instanced inputs. Click on populate, and you'll see that it's just one box that was brought in. And that's the kind of behavior that we want. Because now what we're doing is we're really dealing with power. Because now we have an abstract definition of what's going into Houdini Engine. Now, by default, we're bringing in a box. Now, what if we were to bring in something else? And your imagination is just spinning out of control, I can tell. All right.
I'm not seeing the option there for instance in
Oh, okay. Scroll up. It should be right underneath. It says Houdini parameters. Look for Houdini instance inputs.
Does it have to be called populate 1-1?
No.
Okay. As long as you just see the one little rectangle, you're good?
Yeah, so it should. I mean, by default, it looks something like this.
Yeah.
If you click that open, and it says populate,
Mm-hmm.
and there you go.
Mine looks kind of like that.
It should show just a thumbnail of just one box.
Yeah, it doesn't have the little plus minus next to it.
That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Okay. Going to UE4. Oh God. Oh, here. That's okay. Okay. Number of iterations. Assets. Save. UE4. Rebuild. Okay, now it's not behaving nice. Okay, I will hit it over the head with a bigger hammer. I'll call it populate 2. I'll accept, and let's see if this is set. Back in instance. Save. One of the things I love about Houdini is that if it doesn't work, you beat it over the head with a bigger hammer. And a lot of time, it submits. Re-import. Houdini installation was not detected. What? How could this be working? It was working before. Thou art truly cursed, Emmanuel. So that means that you must have lost internet connection. Okay, so that's still good. Okay, so let's go to UE4.
Since you duplicated it, made it populate 2, should you know be different?
Yeah, but that's still, I mean, that error is not good. That's a bad error. That's like the kiss of death. I hate seeing that. And, okay, so let's start UE4 up again. Okay, is it okay if we don't save?
Yes.
Okay, bring up UE4 again. This is bad. I mean, first, the devices kicked back on to Alex's machine, and now UE4 is forgetting where Houdini is?
I did that with the tool once. I installed a new edition of Houdini, and I thought I lost my homework, and you saw it, and I was panicking because my tool was empty, and it was hidden in a file for a new Houdini edition that I don't even know how to open. So that was fun, and got my heart racing. But that's cool.
So,
Houdini, fun stuff.
okay,
That makes
good,
sense.
good, doing good.
I wondered why you were laughing up there.
Yes.
I had to bring her.
Makes sense.
Oh, you got it up there, great,
Yeah, I just reopened the
perfect.
map.
Okay, so now,
My programming friend who avoids that. It's
Roberto, because that's what Chris
Okay,
found
so
in his video, so.
Yeah, well, Roberto's a thing though.
Delete,
It's
What do you
legit.
think?
Roberto, that's legitimately like what people call
happy.
They call it Roberto, like real people do that, you know what I mean?
him. Yeah, like when people in the gaming community.
That's like a
call him
normal, I thought it was just a fun little like,
Roberto. I
we
don't
call
know.
it Hector the Vector, like,
No, people just actually call him Roberto.
I'm a little disappointed with that.
Why?
Cause I
And now
thought
it's
it was
just
like
Houdini
our
instance.
clever checker.
There you go.
Well, it's like short for rubber
The
toy.
Logan
Yeah,
style.
People
now
say
that you said
that.
that, it's very obvious, and I'm a little upset I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, people would say his name and it's like they're like, did you say Roberto or Roberto? So I just ended up as Roberto eventually.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
All right.
Disillusioned.
Now, Tyler's already played with a lot of the groovy stuff that you can do. But here's stuff that you can do without going back into Houdini, where it says populate, and you see the single box there. Click onto the downward box and then choose bushes
What downward box?
or bush.
Whoa.
Oh,
And so now what we've done is we repeated. Now we have 250 bushes. Change the scale so it's something more manageable, maybe like 0.25.
I actually do not have a drop-down box.
You do.
I mean, I would love to. I have one that says default material for Houdini, but I don't have one next to
Okay, you're not looking at the right one. That's fine. Yeah, it populates generated mesh. Oh, this is the generated mesh, yeah. So what we have to go is the instance mesh,
Oh, okay.
which is up here.
Subtle nuances. Ah,
Yeah.
that's why mine looks slightly different than yours. That's why I was confused.
There you go.
Gotcha.
So you can go and if you so chose, you could change the number, change the instances. You could change things like the chair.
Do we have cows yet?
Do we have cows? Yes, if you were to import the. Oh, we don't have cows. I never gave you the cows.
No, I really wanted the cows.
Okay.
I wanted the particle effect of cows. Just broke my heart that day.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay. Now suppose we say, okay, that's cool, sort of. But I've got bushes. How about more? I want bushes and chairs and rocks. So I'm going to say plus right next to that. And now you see that I've got two populates. So you can go to the top one, and where it says SM share, I'll go to rock. Go to SM rock. Oh, we got big ass huge rocks in there. So change that to 0.25, or even smaller, 0.1. Okay, so we've got rocks. We've got chairs.
And you've got a whirlwind.
And yes, it's extraordinarily dynamic. Yes.
Actually, that's a room.
Okay. Yes, it is possible to start going very large. Be careful. With great power comes great responsibility.
Well, I put in 25 instead of 0.25.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead. So I have rocks, bushes, and chairs. Okay, so I'm gonna change that to rock. I'm gonna go with bush. So what this did was, this totally did your last Tecker homework in a matter of seconds. It equally distributed how many other objects into the scene, how many options you throw into it. It creates an equal amount and distributes it randomly on the surface. Doesn't it disgust you to actually go and you work hard on a program and then you go into class and the teacher show you how to do it in a software like that? Okay, so yeah, we've got 250 going at it, so okay, that's pretty cool.
Are the sites values for stuff like that?
Yeah, each one of these instances has its own scale value. You change that by changing the scale offset.
I mean, for the for just the chairs, they'll have like different sizes.
Yeah, the chairs are random sized.
Okay.
I think the chairs also have collision.
I'm sorry?
I think the chairs also have collisions.
Ooh.
I'm walking around on top of them.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh yeah, the chairs, they've got collision. Okay, so that goes to another point, and we'll get into this a little bit more next week, or actually we're not doing very well in the time. So we'll get more into this next week. But in order for an object to be colliding, you have to create collision geometry for it. The bushes and the boxes don't have collision geometry on them. But the chairs have geometry. And I'm not sure if the rocks do or not.
Only the chairs have.
Only the chairs, right. Okay, so if you want collision to happen on there, you have to import objects with collision geometry on them. It's not going to pick it up by default. Okay, everyone have a chance to play around a little bit with that? And yes, we could offer Squidwards and Robertos, and yeah, we could bring those in as well.
Mine's having a compiling error when I try to play it. It's having
Wow.
issues with the
Your thing is truly cursed, Emmanuel. I have no idea what this compile here could possibly mean.
let's see. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, one or more blueprints has an unresolved compile error. Are you sure you want to play an editor? Yeah, we'll see what happens. No, that's not cool. Okay, save it and then get out of it and go back into it.
And just close them.
Yeah. Yeah, check it out, whatever. Yeah. You, oh, M. Bush.
The bush.
Oh, that's weird. Continue. Okay, cancel. Oh, okay. Click OK. And now go back into UE4. Okay, wait for it to finish compiling. Update. Oh, that's fine. Whatever. Go ahead and play. Populate test. Is that yours? Is that your?
No, I didn't add that.
Well, yeah, it's populate test. Okay, cancel. I don't know why. I'll have to play with that a little bit. I think it has something to do with perforce. I don't know why, because the error is in the level and not with the digital asset. So my guess is that if you were to create a brand new level, then drop that in there, it would work. Okay? All right. That's okay. We don't need to run around for anything specific like now. All right. Working with grids to place points is okay, but you know, this is the 21st century. I want splines, damn it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make this a spline. So what we can do here is go back to Houdini and, change this to the top perspective. So where it says persp, click that, set view, and go to top perspective. And so we see the whole thing laid out there. Now, right click onto here, and then type in curve, and then choose just plain old boring curve, and then drop that in there. Now hit the display on curve, and everything goes away, but turn on the template for copy to points. So even though we're displaying curve, we've got the template on copy to points. Now, move your cursor over to the display port, click in there, and then hit enter. We are now in UV draw mode. And I'm going to turn on my grid snapping by turn on this little magnet right next to the grid. That turns on grid snapping, and then choose close up in this little parameter here. And now just click on the corners that surround the box. And then once you're finished clicking those 4 points, hit enter. And now we have a four-sided curve. Okay, anyone have any problems with that? All right, now we want to give the user the choice. Do I want to use the grid or do I want to use the curve? And so we can set this by putting in a switch node. So right click and type in the word switch. And so this is a little bit of logic. So here's my switch node. If I just drop that between grid and random rotate, it gets sucked in there. And now if I drag curve and put this on top of switch, switch now has two inputs. But you'll see that one of the inputs is solid and the other one is dotted. Okay, what this means is that currently the switch node is selecting the grid or the first node. And the second node, curve, is dotted. And so that's it. If we want to change that, click on the switch node and see where it says selected input. Change that instead of 0, change that to 1. And now we're looking at the curve. So put the switch node back to 0. And then put the display on copy to points. And so we're still looking at the curve here. I mean, at the grid here, which is good. But we now have the curve to work from. Everyone still got that? Okay. Open the digital assets again. So edit asset properties. Populate. Now on the switch, select the switch node where it says select input. Drag that node here, put it in root, and just leave that on there. Okay, we have to do a little bit of baby programming in order to program our menu what to do. And we do that if we go over here where it says select input, click on the word tab that says menu. And now click on, say, use menu, make that true. And so what we want to do is tell what these actual switch nodes mean. We know that 0 equals the grid, and 1 equals the curve. So type in here 0, and then on the other box type in grid, and then hit enter. click in that first one again, type in 1, click in the other box and type in the word curve. And so your thing should look like this. Okay, so now we have a way of switching the Houdini's input from either the grid or the curve. So let's go ahead into save this, click accept. Okay, there it goes. Oh, I'm still in the top mode. Click on top and set view, go back to perspective viewport. But anyway, I'm going to go back into UE4. I'm going to click my populate node. And then I'm going to go and rebuild asset. And you'll see now that it says select input. And we have grid by default in there because that's the 0th one. Drag down on the little arrow and choose curve. And where's my curve? Do you folks all get a curve to pop up? It should be like 4 little dots there. Does it work for you?
I mean, it changes, but I don't.
Did
What am I looking for?
okay, grid, curve.
That happens.
That happens. Okay, I must have done something. Go back to Houdini. Let's see if I did something wrong. Ah! Okay. I know what I did wrong. I was too cocky. All right. So, right now, this curve is just a curve. But it's just a rectangle, a square. There's no information here to populate it on. So we don't have anything. So what we have to do is we have to subdivide this. So drop in a subdivide node. And stick that in between curve and switch. And then where it says subdivide, the depth, change that to 6. And so that should give us lots of nodes to play with. All right, with that done, go ahead, and this is important. I have a hunch I didn't do this. Click on your copy to points, turn off the template, and just leave it at that. And so that copy to points is selected. Now, and make sure that the display flag is also on copy. In fact, let's do this. Drag off copy to points and lay down an output node. So this is just a little reminder to me to always output on this node. And I have my thing. Hit C. I like to make it green color. And of course, I like to hit Z. And I change its shape. So now I know that whenever I export, it's got to be on this node. I click Assets, Save Asset, Populate. Now if I go to UE4, turn it back to Grid, Rebuild. It changes up again. Now if I change the Select Input, the curve, it still did it, but where's my curve? Well, this is not fun. This is what I get when I don't follow instructions. All right, let's test the Houdini. Now, go back to Houdini. So, go back up a level so it says populate. Now if we choose curve, oh, I know why. It's locked in place. Okay, ultimately we saved up the digital asset, right? When you save a digital asset and export it to someplace else, that digital asset is locked. That means you can't change the nodes inside of it. So that's not going to work. So what we have to do is make that curve node editable. But if everything's locked, how do we do it? Well, we can do this by going to the assets and go to edit properties. Now, if we go over here to where it says node, the node parameter, we've never gone in here before. There is a little slot here that we can type this in where it says editable nodes. Type in just curve 1. Because I remember that's what we called it. But if you don't remember what you called it, click on this little like chiplet dealio here. And then navigate to where it's obj point instancing populate, and you should find the curve 1 node in there. And click accept and put that in there. So it should be curve 1. Now let's try it. Accept. Go back to that. We'll rebuild. Aha! And there she blows. Now your thing should have a spline around your bushes. Starting with a green one. Does anyone else have this? Or is it just me?
What am I looking at? Oh, I see it now. I see it on the top down. Yeah.
Okay.
The little squares.
Right. Okay, if you left mouse click the green box,
Oh, okay.
and you can go now and go to translation mode, you can drag it.
Gotcha.
My suggestion is to use just the green arrow and the red arrow to keep it all in the same plane. Now, if you click on any of the boxes, it will behave similarly. Right mouse click any of the boxes and say add control point, and then it puts in a new control point. And then so you can start adding curves in here. You play around with this. In fact, try to do this. Try to put a brand new instance of your populate digital asset and put it on top of the platform there. Make sure to change your thing to curve, and then see if you can shape your thing to match the It's not that easy. It's kind of a fool's quest, actually.
I'm just making a star.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm just making a star.
That's fine.
For some reason after doing this, the mesh won't show up in UE4.
Okay. Let's go check it out. So go ahead and play with that.
What did you do? I do not know. What about this one?
Should our shadows still be there?
Nah, it's gonna get screwed up. You're gonna have to rebuild.
That makes more sense.
Huh.
Ah, all right.
Did you lose control? I mean, contact too?
Uh,
It looks like you lost connection.
I restarted my real though.
Uh-huh. Houdini engine. It's got all these cool stuff on here.
Oh, I can change the question right.
Oh, failed to start Houdini engine session. Okay, well that's good to know. Failed to connect to the Houdini engine session. Okay, fine. Okay. Go ahead and restart UE4. Okay, and so,
It says failed to load this. That was the error that
failed to start Houdini engine. Well, I don't know what's wrong with that. I'll have to check it out, but it might have something to do with, this is Houdini version 2. I don't know why it would have stopped working like that. My guess if I would try to reboot the machine. And then see if you can reconnect. But in the meantime, we could do that another time. You're technically not wrong. Something's wrong with your connection. So follow along with me what I'm going to do next. So it's kind of a pain in the butt to work with the curve. The curve is awesome. But it's still kind of difficult. Why can't we just use the geometry given to us by UE4 and use that instead? So we're going to teach Houdini to do that instead. So go back to Houdini, drop into your populate node. Oh, my bad. Go to where it says assets, edit asset properties, click on populate, and then go all the way to the parameter that says basic for the first. Set the maximum inputs equal that to 1. So that means we can have the minimum number of inputs is 0, the maximum number is 1. So that means we could take an exterior input into our digital asset if we so chose. But if we so choose. So click accept. Now inside, let's see, go to hit U to the populate. Double click in there. Where is it?
I didn't save it. I forgot to save it. Basic, maximum, minimum number of inputs. Maximum number of inputs. Click as one. Apply. Accept. Where's my other thing? Ah! So I still can't get it to come up with it. So I got to jostle Houdini around a little bit. I'm going to right click and say match current definition. And then I'm going to click on here and hit delete. And I'm going to make it reload from disk. So I hit tab, go up to where it says digital assets, and my populate node should be right up there. And it's still just one input. What in goody goo goo is wrong with that?
Wait, how do you bring it up again?
Yeah.
Oh, I click delete, click tab, and then look over to where it's on the tab menu, it says digital assets.
I tried to type in digital assets and it was like,
No
no, we
worries.
don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Just type in populate and it'll come up.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that will work too. Yep. We'll go type properties, maximum number of inputs, minimum number of inputs. Maximum inputs is 1. Click accept. Oh, unlock and save. Okay. Drop into there. Oh, wait a second. If I hit F, oh, there it is. It's hiding. Okay. So you should have this like 5 edge polygon here. It says sub network input 1. Drag that somewhere over to where it says grid and curve 1 subdivide. Now what we're going to do is where it says sub network 1 input 1, connect that to the switch node also. Now we might get an error out of this, so don't worry. But the same thing that would happen on curve 1, we're going to have to go in and change the subdivide. We're going to have to put a subdivide under our sub network 1. So right click on there, grab on subdivide, stick that in there, and put the depth to 6. And it's getting an error. The reason why it's getting an error is because there's no input going into it. And so the subdivide is looking for input, and it's complaining, hey, I don't have any input. Give me some input. Okay, we're going to go give it some input then. So leave it as is. Go to Assets, Asset Properties, go to Populate, then go into Parameters. And now where it says Select Input, let's go back and select that parameter, and then make sure we're in the Menus tab right up here on top. And now click right here at the bottom, at the last one. We're going to add one more. So click in 2 and space, and then put in, put in input geometry. And then click accept. Okay. Everyone got that going?
Why did I get rid of 0?
I'm sorry?
Mine got rid of 0. It was like, no, that's asking too much.
Okay. Go back to UE4. Now I'm going to go ahead and all this one that I spent so hard to work on, I'm going to go ahead and delete it. Ah, such is life. For the populate, I'm going to right click on here and go to re-import. Successfully re-imported. That's a good thing. And now I'm going to grab my populate node and put it on there. And so it's on. So that's good.
And what's the geometry on this recall again? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
The geometry thing that we just typed in? What is
Input geometry.
Thank you.
Input geometry,
I was
yeah.
like, there's a word in front of it. I
Yeah,
couldn't
it doesn't, we could call it Joe for beats for all that matters. But input geometry is a little better reference. All right. So what I want to do is use this entire platform as my input geometry. So click on where it says select input and then choose input geometry all the way to the bottom. Now notice that it should have opened a little box that says geometry input right underneath it. Drag on that and go to World Outliner Input. And then the menu should kind of change around a little bit. Does everyone have this like little black box that says choose world? It's like choose love. Choose world. Okay. Now click Start Selection and then Shift select all of the boxes on this platform. So now if we click on, it says use current selection, it dispersed all of the boxes to in the volume of all of the shape. So now it's not just doing a grid, it's doing the whole volume.
But also, I guess I should have had my first clue and it was wrong when I re-imported it. It just didn't happen.
Oh, click on use current selection. Wait a second. Oh, you've got the wrong stuff selected. So you've got the HLS. Oh yeah, this is like. Let's delete this. Oh god, that's not good. Okay, so I'm gonna click this. Okay, I'm gonna start over. Okay, so then from scratch again. So we've got that. We've got curve working here. So we've got grid. Okay, so let's create another populate. So it's separate from that one you worked so hard on. I can save that.
Something like AI, I think, where I did the last bit.
Yeah, something's awry. Okay, if you were to restart, yeah, something's not happening because it's not flashing. Save this, and then restart. But as you, okay, is anyone else having problems? Okay, so what, you same old problem?
Yeah. So like it connects, but then I throw in the mesh and it finishes instantiation, and then after that it loses connection.
Really? Okay, good to know. Okay, we're gonna have to get you, we're gonna have to install the old, we're gonna have to install the old version of Houdini Engine. Because Houdini Engine 2 is in
Beta?
is in beta, right?
I'll do that.
I've restarted. Should anything have happened that's exciting?
No. Do you have, let's see if you
I
restarted it.
tried to put a new, oh no, still not anything. Lazily loaded it on.
Oh, I bet I know what's wrong. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
That would do it.
And now let's open UE4. Populate 3. Rebuild. Okay, now change this one to input geometry. Change this to world outliner input. And click on start selection. Shift select. All these. Say use current selection. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, now we've got a problem here real quick. Now, it's doing the whole volume. We only want the top faces. And we've actually already covered a technique on that, so we only want the top faces of whatever is exposed. So go back to Houdini. And then put a little distance here between the subnetworks and the subdivides. And then put a group node between subnetwork and subdivide. And not GH group, just group. Stick that in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the base group. And then we're going to keep by normals. We're going to enable that. And we're going to change our group name to up facing. And then what we're going to do is set for the direction. We're going to change that to 0, 1, 0. And so Ashley, what's 0, 1, 0?
So it's only one in the line to the x-axis.
Yeah, so that means it's pointing straight up. So that means put only the objects that are pointing straight up in there. And so make the spread angle like 45 so it's a little bit more refined. Now this is a little difficult because we're kind of working blind here, but we're doing good. Anyone have any questions on this? So from the up facing, drag down and then drop in a blast node. And then stick that in there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to type the word up facing in here. But we don't want to delete or blast away the up facing vectors. We want everything but the up facing vectors. So there's an option for that. So say delete non-selected. Click that. So your thing should say group 1 up facing, and then blast 1 not up facing. So if I say blast 1 is not up facing. Go to assets, save.
Mine just says not, doesn't say up facing.
What does it say?
It just says not.
Well, then go back to group and type in the word up facing in group name.
Yeah, I do have that.
Then it doesn't say, okay, did you turn off base group?
It's turned on.
Yeah, turn off base group. Type in up facing. Up is capital F. F-A-C-I-N-G. Okay. ahead and save it. And go into UE4 and then do an update. Or do a rebuild. So now, go to the digital asset where it says rebuild. Then only the top facing geometry now will contain the boxes.
Is it a problem if you have to redo your selection?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to.
All of mine are just gone.
What?
All of mine are gone.
All of yours are gone. Okay, we'll go back into Houdini and make sure that all of your nodes are selected, connected, and that your output is sent to the right node. What about yours, Kelsey? Is it working?
It's showing a lot of errors, and I'm not really sure why it's showing that.
Oh, set it up.
Is there
Okay, what about you, Ashley?
Mine's fine.
Okay.
I think I figured out what it is I'm doing.
Okay. So, I'll go ahead and help you guys debug this.
Oh, yeah, I think that.
But if you go to populate real quick and change the populate to, change that to something else, maybe like P-fire. Just type in this, P_fire. Yeah, there we go. Blazing Infernos, baby. Okay, let's see what you have here.
So, doesn't seem to like these three. One
Up
of them-
facing? Well, let's see. Okay. Group. Group walls, up facing. Up facing. Please. Okay, so that's fine. Oh, which one?
Bottom. Bottom.
So do you have okay, so there's just this. Oh, you don't even have that on there, so something is strangely amiss. This is the wrong digital asset. We're looking at the wrong one, so we've got 3 inputs there.
Oh, the frame rate.
No. Yeah, there goes the frame rate, right out the window. They type in 2, I'm sorry, and then change that one to input geometry. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Input geometry. Change that to row outline input. Start selection, let's just select that. Sequence selection. Oh, okay. That's not like it. Okay, so let's put a Q over here. you're a few steps behind. We've missed something. I'm gonna look at this later. But is anyone else missing stuff?
Yes. Mine is not on top. I even tried to read it. Just one second. Where did that box?
Yeah, that's why. Okay, you keep switching these. I don't know how you're doing it.
I don't either. I wish I knew how I was switching it.
I'm gonna smack you on the side of the head. It's just,
Alright, that'll work.
yeah, you change the order on these.
I know what I'm doing, because it's making me crazy that they're not lined up well. And so I'm trying to make it better, but I'm making it worse.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And populate. Okay, now you're on the UE4. Repo this. There we go.
That'll work. Thank you. Now I know. Don't make it straight. It'll just get worse.
Yeah. All right. What about you? Is it working here? Yeah.
When you may miss that step, so
Very satisfying.
try to drag this out.
No, it's not. You got to use the input geometry here. Oh, there it is. Populate 2. Input geometry. That's okay.
Oh yeah, I
Okay, he's kind of. Okay, so it's not on there, so you're missing a step here. So let's go to up facing. Enable. Oh, just subdivide. So here, not there. So it's not subdivided. Y. Assets, save, populate. There you go. Okay. Any other people having difficulties? Everyone go okay? You okay, Ashley?
Yeah.
All right, cool. If you want, I'll look at your right in a moment, Kelsey. Okay, then we've got to go and get your.
I got that.
Oh, you were able to reinstall?
Yeah, version 1.
You did. How'd you control it?
So basically Houdini has all the versions in there, and Unreal basically just copy paste up all the files, so you remove the version 2 and put the
Snazzy. And does your thing work?
Yeah, it's working now.
Nice. Okay, well that's all I wanted to cover today. It's a lot of stuff. But now, like I said, you have a way of inputting and interacting with UE4 3 different ways. Purely by Houdini, you could use using the curve method that Houdini provides, or you can use geometry that UE4 provides, and also there's another option, and I'll show you with that option. There are other options where it says world input, a world outliner input. We can import other geometry. We can import a curve input. So if we wanted to create, if you had your own curve, you could pipe in your own curve into that as well. You just select it. I haven't had a lot of chance to play with that, or you could use landscape, or you could use a skeletal mesh. I haven't tried a lot of these, so you're kind of on your own on these. I know that the world outliner does work, and the frame rate does tank. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and terminate this broadcast, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this week, and hopefully you picked up a lot of good groovy techniques or a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. So join us next week. We're going to wrap up this lesson a little bit because then we're going to deal with crumbling buildings the easy way, crumbling objects, and collision objects with UE4. Okay, thank you very much for joining. I will see you all again next week. Bye. And stream. Okay.